I feel proud that I've been advocating for this for over 15 years in my blogs and mybeckles.com, that finally the Jamaican authorities have seen fit to enhance the penalties for serious felonies. And of course, remove some of that by placing mandatory minimums on some of those penalties, for example, murder and capital murder. Great job to the legislature, the Jamaican legislature, for doing that. Now, because of these enhanced penalties, I said in an earlier iteration of this program that there is going to be an issue where police fatal shootings may increase. Why? Because those caged animals are going to try to fight. They don't want to go and do so much time in prison. So in the very near future, as I said before, police there may be more fatalities between when police confront criminals because they're going to want to fight. And initially it will go up, but I think it will come back down to appreciable levels as long as people don't play the fool. And as I continue to say, despite what Jamaicans for Justice, people like Bert Samuels and others would have you believe, and those people in the media, these leftist lunatics from the University of West Indies, who they brainwash at that ghetto institution, despite what they continue to try to tell you, criminals are going to be criminals. Criminals are going to be criminals. We cannot allow criminals to take over our country. There is no way we should surrender to criminals. So the police are doing a heck of a job. Fatal shootings are up to the people who confront the police, not the police. I am not going to sit here and say that there may not be inappropriate use of force, but to the extent that it exists, it is not a lot. And as I heard one guy who's a criminologist in Jamaica, don't know if he ever served in law enforcement, but he really spoke to two of the idiots on, I think it's TVJ or one of those morning programs. He really took them to school about the seriousness of what's going on, and that war has casualties because we are in a war. And he said we could surrender to the criminals, but it's not an option. And so the police has to fight them. And how demoralizing it is that police officers go there to do their jobs, and all they can hear is people talking and talking crap that they don't know anything about, instead of giving them credit for the job they're doing. They are sitting in these cushy studios running their mouths because that's all they do. That's all they know how to do. They don't make any contribution to our country. All they do is talk, talk. And they're not even smart enough to make sense when they're talking, but they talk. That's all they do, talk. We cannot surrender our country, as I said earlier. Yeah, we cannot surrender our country to them, and we will never do it. Crime is low, crime is going down, major crimes are trending down. And the police have been doing a terrific job. Whether there are a few cases where the police need to be better trained or whatever it is, but as I said, we appreciate the police and we're going to give them credit on this program. At least on this program, we're going to give the police credit. Yeah. Jamaicans for Justice. And I'm going to keep mentioning Bert Samuels because Bert Samuels is out there. He's a renowned lawyer in Jamaica. I don't know what he's renowned for, but he's a renowned lawyer in Jamaica. And of course, I think pretty much he went out and said that police are, wearing masks and stuff and committing crimes. That's what his criminal clients or cops told him. And we addressed that and we showed that what he was saying was nonsense, that cops who are on special assignment all over the world wear, including in the United States, wear masks to conceal their identity because they need to operate with a certain degree of anonymity. And I will continue to make that point. Now, as you all know, there have been enhanced penalties now for some capital murder. It's going to be 50 years, and I think an offender would have to do 45 before they're eligible for parole. One of the things I have spoken about and written about for many years has been the need for something called mandatory minimums. Mandatory minimums in law are stipulations in the law that says that takes out of the hand of judges certain, once a person is convicted, the ability to water down or diminish the amount of time someone get. It's a very, very strong deterrent principle in the law, and it should be in Jamaica as well. I'm glad to see that now they're saying that, yes, when you get convicted, here's what the mandatory minimum is. No judge get to water down the sentence and talk about judicial independence. One of the things that Jamaicans for Justice and those people who want to continue to breed the criminals in our country, one of the things they continue to do is to talk about judicial independence. And I want to talk about it this evening in the context of how the the enhanced penalties that have been added to these serious offences. And of course, Jamaicans for Justice came out saying that the country is very close to being breaching the Constitution. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember what the correct terminology, but I'm going to read for you, and then I'm going to read the text for you, and then I'm going to speak to you briefly, and then I'll be gone. The House of Representatives on Tuesday, April 29, passed 3 bills that seek to appropriately treat with, you know what, I'm not going to use that term, treat with, that deals with, I like to speak with in terms that people can understand, that deals with the increased penalties for the offense of murder under Jamaican law. The bills are the Offences Against the Persons Act, the Criminal Justice Administration Amendment Bill, and the Child Care Protection Amendment Bill. Closing the debate of the bills, Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck said the bills represent a necessary and deliberate response to the levels of violent crime in society, particularly those involved in the most heinous offense, which is murder. Jamaica continued to grapple with unacceptable high levels of homicide. These are not just statistics, they represent real lives lost, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers taking acts of cold violence that tear families and communities apart. Chuck said. Now, Chuck is a Minister of Justice. Was never a big fan of Delroy Chuck because, as far as I'm concerned, Delroy Chuck has been one of the softest persons that I know on crime. Of course, Delroy Chuck is also a lawyer, and he was a criminal lawyer. So these people are particularly soft on crime. But while that's aside, while the government continues to invest in crime prevention, intelligence-driven policing, and social intervention programs, it is also imperative that the justice system reflects the seriousness of the crimes. You think, and continue to undermine public order and confidence in the rule of law. He had it. The bills are the result of extensive consultation through the Joint Select Committee process convened from as far back as 2023. The committee received oral and written feedback from the United Nations Children's Fund, the Jamaica Bar Association, the Office of Children's Advocates, the Office of the Public Defender, Jamaica Psychological Society, Office of Director of Public Prosecutions, Faculty of Law, University of Mona, civil society stakeholders, and members of the public. See, this is what happens. This is why a country is so full of crap. This is why the laws are so lax in Jamaica. Why is the Jamaican Parliament consulting with Jamaican United Nations Children's Fund, Bar Association? Lawmakers are supposed to make laws, and the Parliament is supposed to have lawyers who advise them on the legality of whatever laws they're gonna pass. They should not be listening to special interests on these things. If they're gonna listen to special interests on the law, take a poll. Put it on you know what? Put it on the bill on the ballot come next election and let the people vote. Let the people vote for what they want. We don't need special interests like the Jamaica Bar Association, United Nations Children's Fund. If we hear from the public defender and the director of public prosecution, that's okay. But why we listen to faculty at University of Mona? Why do we care about what they think? Let's talk about the public. Why do we care about? They think this is why we can't have laws, because the laws get watered down because of all of these people having their 2 cents and they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing that they're talking about because they don't live the crime. They live in secluded neighborhoods away from the crime and the criminality. Anyway, regarding the Offense Against a Person Amendment Bill, Chuck said the Joint Select Committee lowered the penalties relating to non-capital murder. So in effect, what has happened is that the non-capital murder for children was set at 45 years. That was the suggestion. And of course, after the consultation with these people, like I said, it got watered, and the mandatory minimum penalty proposed now is 30 years. This is exactly what I just said. Yeah, where a term of years has been imposed, a period that must be served before becoming eligible for parole is proposed to be 20 years instead of 35 years. Chuck had it. As it pertains to the Criminal Justice Administration Amendment Bill, it seeks to amend Section 42F of the Criminal Justice Administration Act by increasing the term of years to be deemed as life imprisonment from 30 to 50 years, appropriately so, where the offense committed is murder. The starting point for calculating the reduction in sentence is usually life imprisonment, and the aim of this proposed amendment is to maintain an incentive scheme for defendants to plead guilty, while ensuring that the reduced sentence is not inordinately low, having regard to the serious nature of the offense, Delroy Chuck said. For the Child Prevention and Protection Amendment Bill, the proposal is that if the child is convicted of capital murder, he or she shall be sentenced to a term of imprisonment for life or to a term not less than 30 years. However, the child will be eligible for parole after serving 15 years. If the child is convicted of non-capital murder, he or she shall be sentenced to a term of imprisonment for life or for such other term as the court considers appropriate. The court will also have the latitude to determine the years that must be served before the child becomes eligible for parole. The provisions of the bill are carefully designed to be proportionate, constitutional, and respectful of the rights of all persons, including the right of due process and the possibility of rehabilitation in cases where it is generally warranted. Chuck said. Meanwhile, the minister said every Jamaican has a right to feel safe in their home, in their community, and in their country. If we are to uphold that right, we must ensure that our laws are firm, fair, and responsive to the challenges we face. These bills are not the sole answer to crime, to the crime problem, but they are a necessary part of the solution, a signal that the state takes seriously its duty to protect life and uphold justice, the Justice Minister said. Now, I just want to touch on what Jamaicans for Justice said in response to these amendments, to these crimes. The Jamaicans for Justice came out and said that the bill is an affront or something. I'm a paraphrase here, that it's almost unconstitutional and impinges on the right of the judiciary, of the freedom of the an impartial judiciary. Pardon me. Now, folks, Jamaica is in the process right now. They're in the process of writing a new constitution. I don't know where they are in writing this new constitution. Okay, but the process of writing a new constitution has already begun. It has already begun. So I ask a couple of questions here. I want to just speak to you briefly on that issue. So behind me here is a constitutional lawyer and an affiliate of Jamaicans for Justice. Sorry, let me fix my camera just a little bit. All right. This is the famous Bird Samuels. I'm going to adjust my camera. This is the famous Bird Samuels. I want you to be able to see him. And Bird Samuels is a constitutional lawyer. And I'm sure he's I don't know if he's one of those giving Jamaicans for Justice legal advice constitutionally. But as I said to you before, there is a process in place right now that is actually considering writing a new constitution for Jamaica. Any nation can write any constitution they want to be governed by. Let me say that again. Any nation can write any constitution they want to govern them. The constitution is not, man is not made for the constitution. The constitution is made for man, for the man. The constitution is made for the people, not the people for the constitution. So when these loggerhead nitwits, foreign agents at Jamaicans for Justice tell you that it impinges on the right of a free and fair judiciary to harden and stiffen penalties, understand that they do not serve the interest of our country. As I said before, the Constitution is a set of laws, is a document that's written to guide the nation. And the laws that are passed in the country must conform to what's in the Constitution. It can't, you can't make laws outside of the Constitution, or those laws will be unconstitutional. It is the people's representatives, the legislature, that has the authority to write laws. They can write any penalty they want. And those penalties would be legal. Stiff penalties cannot be unconstitutional. It cannot be unless it's in the Constitution that you can't give somebody more than X amount of time. There's no such thing in the Constitution. So the lawmakers, the people's representatives, have every right to toughen the laws to make them commensurate with the times in which we're living. And if the Constitution is archaic, too old, too unresponsive, too irrelevant to today, then we have to ditch the Constitution, change the Constitution. We don't even need it amended. We need to change the Constitution so that we can make laws that will protect the citizens of the country, the law-abiding citizens of the country. We can't let mealy-mouthed fools like these allow us to slip into anarchy. Because most of these, whenever things get tough, they hop on a plane and they fly out. It is no problem to stiffen the laws. And we see when we stiffen the laws, we will see that crime is going to trend down. And here's the thing, even if crime does not trend down, those crime producers, as the police like to call them, they will not be on the streets. It'll be a different set of crime producers. And when they catch them, you put them in prison and let them stay there. I want to talk to you about, though, I want to talk to you about the president of El Salvador. Now, I'm not advancing any whether I agree with his tactics or not, but I'm going to mention the president of El Salvador. This young man came to power, and he rose to power on a tough on crime. El Salvador was a place at the highest crime rate in the world, one of the highest crime rates in the world, Latin America region, and certainly the world. And he attacked the gangs. And of course, the people like JFJ, they run their mouths and they yell and they scream. And he created the prison now that he has there, talk. Yeah. Trump is sending people there as well. Crime is down to all-time levels. Women can walk the streets in El Salvador. Families can live without the fear of being unalived in their homes. El Salvador is one of the safest countries right now. You know why it's safe? Because that leader went ahead and he did what he was elected to do. And what happened the last time? He was elected by a greater plurality of the votes, re-elected. Now, whether you think he's a dictator or not is not the point. I don't care about his politics. What I'm talking about are his policies. He went ahead and tackled the most serious issue facing the country, which is crime. Crime is down. Women are able to push strollers with their babies. People are able to go about their business and live their lives in El Salvador. El Salvador has now become a model for not just Latin America, but other nations across the world. Yeah. What he did not do, what he did not do, he did not consult, United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, when he's doing what he was doing. He did not consult the Bar Association in his country. He did not consult the Office of Children Advocate. He did not consult the Office of Public Defender. He did not consult the Psychological Society. He did not consult no faculty from the university. He consulted the most important people, the public, and they gave him the mandate to fix the problem. Now, whether you like that young president or not is immaterial, but he did what he got elected to do, and that was to bring the gangs under control. And you know what? They are under control. They are under control. Folks, let's face it. Let's face facts. You know, there's a story about a man who was going to sell his donkey and his son. Yeah? And the little boy was riding the donkey and they saw a lady and the lady told him, why don't you let your father ride the donkey, you lazy boy? And so the boy hopped off that to get on the donkey. And while they were going, somebody saw him, said, hey, why you man, you cruel man, you riding a donkey and let your little boy walk. And so he picked up the little boy, put on the donkey. Further down the road, they go to see somebody else. Somebody else say, you know what? You two are some wicked people. You should be carrying the donkey. So you know what they did? They hopped off the donkey, tied the donkey's four legs together, put a stick between them, and they started carrying the donkey. They went on a bridge, and of course, you know, the donkey started to kick, and of course, the donkey fell in the water and drowned. So they ended up had no money and no donkey. They had to go home hungry. Bottom line is, you cannot listen to naysayers when you get elected to do a job. Every government first responsibility is the safety of its citizens. The administration of Andrew Holness is coming around, has just come around to recognize that. The People's National Party will never get to come around because they like to talk about human rights as if they're the only ones who know about human rights, as if the rights of innocent citizens is not of paramount importance over the lives of those who would take innocent life. So the PNP has no credibility on crime. It has no credibility on stiff penalties. They never participate in anything to ensure safety of the country. The PNP and those who run behind them, they don't care about, because for the most part, in the PNP, they are criminals. Criminals contribute to them. They have criminals supporting them. You look around and even the dancehall artists who support them are criminals. So make no mistake about it. They are never going to do anything about crime. They will never do anything about crime. The PNP is, for all intents and purposes, a crime syndicate. So the Jamaica Labour Party will have to be the responsible first party. Excuse me. The Jamaica Labour Party will have to be the grown-up in the room and do what's right. The people are dependent on the government to secure the country. And we're hearing the people, we're hearing from the people. We're seeing the people on this channel. We're seeing the people on other channels. We're seeing the people on social media talking about how happy they are about the actions that are being taken. Passing strong laws to protect the nation has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with infringing on the rights of a free judiciary, of an independent judiciary. Nothing. But people, whether they be the judges or the criminal lawyers, and I mean that in the sense that I say, the conciliars who operate as lawyers, whether it be them or the judges or whoever, the judiciary is not The judiciary is not clean. They should not be left to do what they want to do because that is why so many murderers are out on the streets. Time and time and time again. Where they go out and unalive, they get arrested, they go back, they will go out and unalive, and they never get convicted on any crimes because they unalive all the witnesses against them. That is a strategy. Not just that, but they drag out the lawyers have a strategy where they drag out the cases, come up with all kinds of excuses why they can't go to trial. They lie that the prosecution is not ready. And the judges acquiesce to their stupidity, to the stupidity. Yeah. And they drag out the cases, drag out the cases, drag out the cases. And of course, the government acquiesced and say, oh, if you've been locked up for a certain amount of time, or if you have your case um been in before the courts for 5 years and doesn't come to a conclusion, we're gonna give you an out. You could just plead guilty and we give you an out. And of course, that's what they wanted in the first place. So a guy might have spent 3 years locked up for a murder and a murder charge. So you say, all right, well, you get 50% off. So he was already here, so he walks out of court, out of jail free. There's no justice for the aggrieved party. There's no justice for the families. And that in itself breeds more crime because it creates jungle justice where people take the law in their own hands. And now we have a situation where people end up unaliving, in some cases, the wrong person because they don't trust the system. They can't trust the system. But when you try to have this conversation with these people, including the very people who should be making the laws, they can't understand it. And the little ticky morons in the media who sit on some of these morning shows and they have no idea what they're talking about. And they allow people like this fool right here to come on, yeah, and talk all kinds of shit. And they swallow it hook, line, and sinker without getting an alternative point of view, without getting the real point of view. These people have special interests in seeing crime continued. They don't want crime to be remedied in Jamaica because that is how they live, that is how they eat, that is how they make their money. And at some point in time, somebody has to put two and two together and say, oh, this is actually four. Somebody has to put two and two together and say, you know what? We're going to disqualify you from this conversation. We're going to go ahead and do what the people elected us to do and pass the laws that needs to be passed. And if they don't like it, they could leave the country. They could leave the country. In the meantime, Jamaicans for Justice, urging the government to keep a very strict eye on Jamaicans for Justice. And the Jamaican people are going to have to determine whether they want that in their country or not. Because it's clearly not advocacy for human rights. It is clearly supporting criminality. It cares nothing about crime victims. It is wholly focused on government agents. That's not a human rights agency. That's not a human rights agency. Its function, it's not even living by its own mandate. It cares nothing about anything. See, a little 9-year-old girl was brutally sexually assaulted and unalived. And there was not a single word from them. They never speak out when our members of our security forces get unalived. They don't speak out when people are sitting at a bar playing dominoes and people pull up. They don't and unalive them. There's no condemnation of any of the criminality in the country. So if you don't support that kind of criminality, but when the police take out those people who are perpetuating the criminality, then you are part of the problem in our country. You are part of the crime problem. JFJ is part of the crime problem in our country. And I heard one criminologist said that he doesn't believe, he spoke strongly in support of the rule of law, but he does not believe that JFJ is working in tandem with the criminals. I do. I do. I do believe that they are. Money is the fuel that drive that engine. So when you see them coming out, they have to sing for their supper to get the money from overseas. So understand that there's no legitimacy to their arguments. They're singing for their supper. They're singing, they're crowing and throwing up shit against the wall and see what will stick, so that the foreign fund can keep coming in from George Soros, from the European Union, and from the other dark money sources that fund them. And the Jamaican people will have to take a stand and decide whether they want this. And it has already started to happen, because a lot of people have started to stand up and said, get away, go to hell. You're never there for us. You're only there for the criminals. People's eyes are being opened. I thank you. I appreciate you, my people. This has been the deep dive. Please like and share our videos. Leave us a comment in the section below. Give us a like. We love and appreciate you. Thank you. I'll see you on the next go around. Appreciate it.